What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody. I am Love Coach Scott Katamas. You know that by now. And welcome to the Wednesday night edition of The Awakening World. Tonight's show is all about inspiration. There's a lot of hard stuff going on in the world. Certainly what's going on in Gaza is devastating. What's going on in Ukraine, Somalia, so many places. And so much of what we see in the external world, certainly what the media shows us, is pretty depressing. And then the whole polarization taking place politically and in this country, many believe there's a civil war happening. And we've dealt with some hard stuff over our last couple of weeks. We heard from Marianne Williamson, who is an inspiration to us, but also talked about how difficult it's been for her. And we've seen some films that are disturbing about hard things. And it was like, okay, the last couple of weeks, we've probably dealt with more hard stuff than almost always, because this show grew out of the pandemic and our purpose always was to be inspiring. And so I'm really grateful because we have an especially inspiring guest. Ray Amana is with us. You met her recently. She was on the show a few weeks ago. And we got like a little homeopathic dose of her. I was like, no, we need much more Ray Amana in our world, in our awakening world. And a reminder, she wrote a book called The Awakening World. She's an amazing musical artist. She's a shaman. She's a teacher. She's a mom. And most of all, I just find whenever I'm talking to her, I feel inspired. She's a very wise woman. So we're going to have a lot of Ray Amana happening, but to get us off to a good start, as always, we're going to go to Angel Man, or at least with an angel over his shoulder, guiding him. There she is. Hello, beloved brother. what a perfect song choice. And the first time I've heard you do the cover of that song.
I know it's funny. I was listening to my 3 million songs on Spotify the other day, and this song came in. I thought, there's the opening song. And so I only learned it 2 hours ago. I know the song, but I had to Omashar a
You
fire.
you did a great job. The band Kansas would be proud. And
I know.
I've,
I didn't even know it was Kansas until I checked it out today.
yeah, Kansas is the band. One of those one hit bands, you know.
It
Uh,
is, but it's been covered by some really amazing artists. And yeah, anyway, namaste, everybody. Welcome to
Don
the.
Drake is saying great work on that song. And
Thank you, Don.
in honor that we're all dust in the wind, I'm going to change my backdrop to the eighth fire.
It's the
That'll
best.
remind us that we're all dust in the wind.
Yes, it's interesting, the fire. I was just on the Unity call a little bit earlier, and most of the Hollow Movement meeting in Ibiza is happening right now.
That's right.
And so that's a major gathering of, I don't know how many people, but there's all these activities of us getting together and co-creating a new world. And so, yeah,
Yeah,
that is one of them right behind you. So
absolutely. And most people remember that this is the fire that was lit by our beloved Chief Phil Lane, who's a regular on the show. And when they took the picture of the fire, I love the picture. As you can see, at least for me, I see a phoenix rising from the fire. And so I actually use this backdrop, Shar, quite frequently, especially when I'm working with couples or families that are struggling, as a reminder that we go through the fires of life and we do rise. The phoenix does rise.
yeah, it all depends on how we come through it. And I think that with all the help and all the friends we have, and with tonight's show, it will help us get through some of the fires coming up, because I think there's going to be a few global fires happening soon. And it's
I
just.
want to address a wonderful local thing. Eleanor Joy, moving and grooving to the music. There she is. Eleanor Joy, clearly you're back home out of the hospital, and you're looking perky, and we're just delighted to have you. How are you feeling? I unmuted you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. I'm I'm feeling very happy to be here, very happy to be on the show. I just came home last night and now the show's tonight. Awesome. And I just have to be very, very careful, because if I overdo it by 2 steps, I can't breathe.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
so I have to be very
I saw you
careful.
dancing. You know, I put the spotlight on you, but I don't want you to overdo it. So,
No, sitting down's okay. Standing up would be a problem.
okay. Well, you look
Yeah.
great. And
Thank you. And it's so great to be here.
fantastic. We love you.
Thank you.
All right. We will have much more Omashar tonight, but I want to bring our guest back up, our special guest, Rayamana. And she's, you know, she is inspiration for me. I find her to be just someone who everything she does with so much love. And she's a lot, as I said to our audience when they first came in, but now that everybody on Facebook is watching, she's a best-selling author, and the book she wrote was called The Awakening World. She's a healer, a life coach, a musician, an activist, and also a mother. She holds a master's in social work, a master of divinity, and she has studied multicultural philosophy and music. She studied indigenous culture, esoteric spirituality as far away as West Africa, Ireland, and all across North America. And we're going to be blessed to hear some of her musical offerings tonight. But I'm going to just start by asking kind of the question of the day for you, Rhea, is inspiration. And I know that you've had a dynamic life, and I'd love to ask you to share what are some of your sources of inspiration, especially maybe when you're going through challenging times.
Scott, thank you so much. And thank you for that beautiful introduction. And I want to say, I mean, Om Shar, his song was so beautiful, and you can feel so much heart coming through his voice when he sings and he shares. And I was really loving watching the people and watching the people connect with the music and move. And I was reminded of the capacity that we have, each individual, to hold the frequency of the planet and help to raise it. And it actually was reminded, this was like quite a while ago. I'm dating myself by even talking about this, but I was in probably my early 20s and I was watching the the VH1 Video Music Awards. And I'm watching the people who are winning, and I thought, oh my God, what is the state of the world if this is the epitome of consciousness? And I heard Spirit say that it only takes a few high vibrational beings to hold the space for the entirety of the collective. And so as I'm watching the people here moving tonight, I was just remembering that, and remembering that no matter what we think we're capable of in our life circumstance, that just being who we are and radiating from our hearts, it really makes a difference. And then it made me think of Dolores Cannon's 3 Waves of Volunteers, if you've heard of this. She speaks about this shift that they saw coming, or that was like on the verge of happening in like the 50s and 60s. And she saw 3 waves of volunteers. The first were born maybe in the 60s, and their job was just to be frequency holders. They were here to break the system, to break it vibrationally, to hold that space. Maybe they felt like they never belonged, but it was absolutely essential that they be here just being the beings that they are. And that laid the framework for the second round of volunteers. And those volunteers also had to hold this vibrational field, but that was based on the first. And then the third wave of volunteers are who we're seeing being born in our children. And they're really here with these innovative ideas and strategies and solutions, in this recognition that when we tap into that space of inspiration, absolutely anything is possible. And Scott, as you and I were speaking, getting ready for the show, the quote came to my mind from Buckminster Fuller. He talks about, you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. So when we're dealing with problems and we're having issues with, things that are just heartbreaking in the world, and of course we want to look at them, we want to touch on them, we want to feel all of our feelings, but we're not sourcing a solution from the space that caused the problem. So the purpose of tonight is to tap into that space of inspiration, tap into that space of our connection to source, remembering that on one hand, we are just dust in the wind, and on the other hand, we are made of starlight, that we are here connected with the stars of our destiny that are guiding us forward toward the most beautiful fulfillment of our soul's journey. And not only are we on a path or a trajectory for us alone, but also as our Mother Earth, as Gaia, as one body of collective consciousness, we're also moving in this direction of evolution. And so you asked me the question about inspiration, and that just made me think of each person who I'm seeing here, and really everyone who feels the call of this awakening world, who feels the call of, maybe they resonate with the term light worker, and just this recognition that they have a role to play in the shift of what's taking place right now. And sorry for all these stories, but it then makes me think about this. I was invited by a Himalayan monk who I study with to a fundraiser event that he was putting on. And at this fundraiser event, there was artwork of photographs from the early 1900s of these different temples and places in the Himalayas. And one of them really struck me. It looked like a pyramid. It had a really strong energy coming from it. And when I asked the monk what it was, he said, that is one of our brothers who went into samadhi, and he became like petrified over time. And they built this structure on top of him to encapsulate his body, because his body was connected through samadhi with that universal force, which was anchoring the consciousness, the higher consciousness on the planet. So that's an extreme example, but to recognize that just by breathing, sitting here, holding love in our hearts, that we really impact the totality of the collective.
Wow. I'm loving everything that you're sharing. And as always, I want to bring in some comments from our audience. And I want to acknowledge Sylvia. Sylvia was part of the 22 Prayers of Women experience that happened today. So thank you for sharing that. And the link to see that or learn more about it, Sylvia's put in. Reverend Jeffrey says, sounds like the Lovolution is the solution. I've heard those words before, Jeffrey. Eleanor Joy writes, right on, Rhea. Change the fight back to something new and creative. Reverend Jeffrey also writes that and shares with us a hopeful, inspirational video of the week, Empowering Humanity, an inspirational speech by Sarah Ann. Thank you for providing that. Susan Blomquist says, thank you. That is so inspirational, and it's nice to be here. Bashar pointing out 2% of the population is all that we need to make a difference in the world. And definitely throughout the night, people, give us your stories of inspiration or what inspires you. It might be a musical artist or a song, or it might be a movie. It might be a particular speaker. But share with us your sources of inspiration. And I'm going to go back to my right in this moment source of inspiration, Rhea Mana.
Thank you, Scott. And also, when you asked me this question about inspiration, so much of my inspiration is sourced by my connection to spirit. And, a little story is when I was 5 years old, I found God. And I actually only realized a few years ago of kind of the play of events that had unfolded to get me to that moment. So when I was younger than 5, my parents went through a bad divorce, and my dad left, and I was devastated by that. I was very close to my father. It's like we were cut from the same cloth. And my father leaving just created this indelible mark upon myself. And at the time, I was really mourning the loss of my father, but my father married a born-again Christian woman. And so when I would go there for the weekends, we would go to church. But not just any church. We went to the charismatic gospel churches, like the all-black Pentecostal churches downtown. The spirit was going off. And I didn't have the words back then, but someone actually shared this word with me today, and he said encounter. And that's what it was. It wasn't like any kind of dogma or structure or form. It was this encounter. And so when I was 5 years old, I fell in love with this encounter at the time it was Jesus, but it later unfolded. I recognized that it was this greater experience of the aliveness of spirit. And actually that really fits in well with our talk about inspiration tonight, because sometimes our world gets broken down in order to set us up for what is to come. And what I saw is I lost my father, seemingly, and the opening was then for God the Father. And as I look through my life, I see so many moments where it seemed like there was a breakdown or something taken away. But then when I progress through the timeline, I see that then it was an opening for me to have a deeper relationship with Spirit. And so I thought, since I source so much of my inspiration from Spirit, from the divine, from the unseen world, I thought perhaps we could do just a little guided visualization to call in the directions and just tune in with our hearts for a moment.
That sounds wonderful. Please lead away. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So I thought, when I work with guided visualizations, also I work with the energy meridians of the body. So if we can rub our hands together. I like to be playful as well. Something you didn't mention about me is I have a children's music program called Sing the World Awake that I've had for the last 10 years. And I've led children singing for the Dalai Lama, for the Kogi elders, for swamis and holy people. And so I like to be playful, and I like to invite in our inner child spark. All right, let's shake out our hands. And you can just bring your palms into your lap, close your eyes, and connect with your breath. And feel yourself arrive into this now moment. Just noticing where you've come from, noticing what you're holding in your mind, in your emotional body. and welcoming all of it into this now moment. And feeling for your heartbeat. And connecting with your central column. And your central column is this, you can envision it like a column of white light that extends from your root up through the midline of your body to your crown. And as you envision the midline of your body, you can even feel yourself become straighter in your posture. So feeling this column of white light that extends down the midline of your body from your crown to your root. And then feeling this light extending further down from your root down to the heart of our Mother Earth. Connecting down through the different strata, the different layers of rocks and crystals and lava and magma and underground rivers and underground lakes, and find your way down to the connection with the heart of our Mother Earth. And see her heart as a star. And as you make this connection, diving downward to the heart of our Mother Earth, also feel any density or heaviness that you may be holding. Feel it dissolving down into the earth, being absorbed like fertilizer for your path ahead. And then feel this energy coming up from the star heart of our Mother Earth, up through this connection tube that you've descended down through her body. So coming back up from the star of our Mother Earth into your own root, and feeling this earth energy nourishing your body, aligning your physical matter. And then continue connecting the energy up through the midline of the body, up through this central column to the crown of the head, and see your crown open to the heavens, to the stars, the sun, the moon, the luminous beings, the north star of your destiny. And just feel this light, this infinite divine intelligence cascading down through your crown, illuminating your cells, reinvigorating your cells, restoring and renewing the electrons, protons, neutrons. And also feel this sunlight energy moving into your bones, into your spine, your skull, knowing that our bones, our teeth, and our nails are made of condensed sunlight. And feeling the light, the heavenly light, reactivating this divine intelligence, this light quotient that we contain in us, in our very bones. The Harbal de Garben, as the Kabbalist mystics call it, this source of eternal life. And as we're feeling ourselves basked in this energy from the heavens and the earth, we invite in the directions of the north, the south, the east, the west, the archangels who guard these gates. We invite in the energy of Pachamama, of our Mother Earth, her elementals of earth, water, fire, air, and ether, her kingdoms of stones, plants, insects, mycelium, animals. We give our gratitude to our Mother Earth. We cast a circle of protection around us, allowing into our sacred space only that which is for our highest and best, asking that any other energies be satisfied elsewhere. And we send light and blessings to the ancestors of the lands we find ourselves upon. Those original people who inhabited these places, who were the caretakers of this once alive and sacred land, sending light and blessings through those caretaker lineages, past and future, and sending light and blessings through our own ancestral lines, past and future, to the ones who've come before us, as well as the ones who will walk after us. And then we invite into the space the energy from the sun, the moon, the stars, our angels, archangels, our star family, our higher wisdom council, our guides. And we ask that our inner ear and inner eye be open to perceive the messages of the unseen. These messages that are whispered on the wind, that are spoken to us through the running of the water in the creek, the messages beyond language. We ask that our hearts be open to perceive the unseen. And then finally, we invite in the energy of infinite love that resides in the heart. The thread, this beautiful thread that weaves us all together. May this thread of love between us be strengthened. May through our awareness, these connections nourish us and source us. And we ask our unseen allies to be with us at this time, recognizing that we are not alone in this world, that we are fed and loved and sourced by legions of beings in the unseen world who have heard the cries of the suffering of humanity and are coming to our aid. In the unseen, singing songs to us in the ethers, and even embodied in points of darkness to transform the system from the inside out. And whatever it is that's been on your heart, invited into this space for transformation, for alchemy, recognizing that we are energetic beings designed for creation. And bringing into our shared space and the power of the collective unified field that's amplified by every person present, bringing in our deepest prayers and heart's longing so that these longings may be heard by Creator, so that obstacles may be removed, miracles may be received, that we may be touched by grace. And whatever it is, the love, the opportunities, the connections, whatever it is we're needing in our lives, that may flood into our experience of reality. That there's not a moment that goes by that we don't know how important we are and how deeply and dearly we are loved. And so coming back to our breath, we'll take a deep inhale into the chest. Hold the breath for a moment. You can squeeze the body. And exhale, shake out the hands and open the eyes.
Amana, that was so beautiful. Let's just take a moment and send her some love and some twinkles and some appreciation and just kind of bask in the beauty of that beautiful meditation. There's a wonderful awareness. And I'm going to read some comments from the chat box, but this first one is really fun. You know, Rhea, we started this 4 years ago when the pandemic happened. And one of the people who's been with us from the very first show is Karen Stewart, who
I love Karen.
exactly, well, Karen loves you. And Karen just wrote in the chat box, Rhea, I am so glad that you are here with us tonight so that my Global Peace Tribe family can experience how special you are, just as I have ever since I made the decision to become a student in your Songkeeper School. That has been a wonderful journey so far. So it's, I'm going to put you on camera for a moment. There's Karen, who is, by the way, has sung for us. She's blessed us with her singing. We also showed her singing with her choir at her church. So, Karen, how wonderful that you and Rayamana already have a beautiful connection. Which I guess is probably a good segue into you sharing a little bit more about music in your life. And I think you could share with us a little bit of music tonight.
Amazing. Yes, I am going to share music. Thank you so much, Scott. And thank you, Karen. And so the first song that I wanted to share is called Masterpiece. And as I was working on the song, I was really connecting in with that we are these divinely intelligent beings that come from the stars. And we are wearing the skins of earth, and yet we have celestial origins. And also connecting in with this recognition that in traditions of old, they also were working to bring heaven on earth. Much like we talk about now with the ascension, or we hear this phrase, heaven on earth. So many ancients from around the world had different practices to do this. One way that they had to do that was to take the heavens and copy them onto the earth. So in South America, they would have these pools, these reflecting pools that reflected the stars in the reflecting pool. So that was the way of bringing the heavens onto the earth. The Egyptians and other places that had pyramids, it's said that the three pyramids of Giza are aligned with Orion's belt. And there are other pyramid systems around the world that also are said to be aligned with different planetary bodies. So in writing this song, I was connected with our divine origins, that we do come from the stars, and also this technology that's been within the collective from time immemorial about how we can bring heaven on earth by the replication of these higher forces onto this earth plane. And then the words of the song are masterpiece. You are a masterpiece, or I am a masterpiece. Like masterpiece, masterpiece, all creation is a masterpiece. Masterpiece, masterpiece, I am a masterpiece. And when I'm writing music, I like to write music for group singing, because I find there's nothing more powerful than all of us joining our voices. I don't think that we're here just to be passive audience members to this game of life. We're here to be in there, to be participating, to use our voice, to activate our energy field. So the songs that I write are designed to be sung by you, and hopefully that brings about some kind of memory or inspiration or possibility. And actually, Scott, this song is one of the ways that we got connected originally, because this video was played during the harmonic convergence that was just a few years back.
Right. And you were on our show that we did way back.
For the harmonic convergence.
For the harmonic convergence, yeah. All right. Thank you. And by the way, a lot of people coming in and appreciating your meditation. So, there's just a lot of appreciation for all the inspiration that you're providing us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. And, just to say that we all are surrounded by this unseen support network in every way. In nature, we walk through the forest and the electromagnetic fields of the trees are cleaning our energy body. We go into the ocean and we're being renewed and restored by the negative ions. There's so much support for us as we tune into it. And when we recognize and appreciate that support, then our connection to it grows. And just a little story is years ago, just more than 10 years ago now, and I think I mentioned this maybe last time we were talking, a friend of mine asked if I wanted to sun gaze. And I wasn't a big early morning riser at the time, but I decided to sun gaze for 6 weeks. And so I would sun gaze, and then I would send energy and blessings to the earth and connect in. I would just start to feel like where she needed it, her water, her tectonic plates. And after doing that for about 10 days, I started to hear her talking back. And one of the things I was shown was that all wisdom from all time is contained in the energetic field of the earth and in our energetic field. And we access this information by appreciation, by the giving of energy, by the giving of attention. And so we can build the relationship with the earth with that field of intelligence, that field of wisdom, with the intelligence held by the trees, by the eagles, by the sun, whatever it is. So, I invite us all to, as we're moving throughout our day, whatever it is, be it the water that you're going to drink or take a shower with, or the air that we're breathing. I mean, look at us. We're just swimming in this sea of nurturing, invisible energy that science sees is air that we breathe. And once it's called air, somehow it's not a miracle. So, yes, so in this space of appreciation, we can build relationship. And I hope for all of us that we recognize and take the time out to build that relationship with those unseen helpers that each of us has in our lives. So then, like, when you call in the directions, or like I just called in the allies, I'm not just calling in my allies, I'm calling in all of our allies. And if each of us has a whole bunch of allies, when we get together, like, we're literally in a room of, thousands or hundreds of thousands right now.
That's a very inspiring and a beautiful reminder. Thank you so much. Thank
you. So shall I share the song?
We would love that.
Amazing. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. And thank you for your patience. Okay. Okay.
You are a masterpiece, truly. You know what I'm realizing about you? You really are a Renaissance woman. The way that you weave different traditions together through your music. And I was thinking that, and then looking at the chat box, and Karen basically wrote the same thing. I'm going to read several comments from the audience. I'm going to hide myself so we can just see you taking in people's appreciation. Karen wrote, I'm in my third semester with Rhea, and we learn about so much more than just singing. Because Rhea has studied so many disciplines with so many enlightened beings, and she shares much of that knowledge and experience with us. Susan writes, like the meditation, this song is so inclusive of the stars and the world together. Adora writes, wow, beautiful. Omashar writes, profound video, glorious images, and glorious vocal soundtrack. Thank you. Carol, lots of rainbows and namastes and hearts. Grace Denise writes, wow, that is so powerful and inspiring. Eleanor Joy writes, wow, creative, inspiring, beautiful. Reverend Jeffrey writes, what a nice vibration, lift off straight to heaven. Grace Denise writes, you convey so wonderfully about universal higher truth. Don Drake writes, what an awesome transmission of love and peace. And somebody named Zoom User, it's kind of an interesting name, must have had hippie parents. Zoom User writes, so beautiful and powerful. Thank you. And more is still coming on in. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful, and I feel all that love. And it's reminding me of a story, and I think, Scott, I shared this with you. And so my awakening process started around 2011. Up until that point, I kind of thought I was a little bit crazy. Because I was in a family with a mother who is a vice president of IBM. My father's an attorney. Everybody was really like successful in their regular jobs. And when I was in school, I was always very smart and popular. And my family had big plans for me of what they thought I was going to do. So I tried my best to meet those expectations, but I always had this deep connection and love of the divine, and also this awareness that there is this shift coming on the planet. But I didn't really have words for it until actually the end of 2010. I started to meet other people who reflected back to me these same awarenesses, that there was this shift that was happening. And I started to have dreams that would show me that I was part of it. And one in particular that I remember is I was in this dream looking at my feet walking on a red sand path, and I was shown that there was such little time left, and if I realized how little time there was left, I would do everything in my power to devote myself to bringing more love to the world. And so once I started to meet people that reflected back my own inner awareness, I was like, well, I'm all in. I'm following my heart. I'm going for it. And that started this cascade of events. I changed my life dramatically. I was living on the East Coast, and years later, it brought me to California. But also during this time, I started having this recognition. I would be in conversation with people, and I really could feel, I am you, and you are me. Like in this oneness, this depth of, to make me, and even as people are sharing their gratitude, tears are just running from my eyes. And I feel like the tears are like the language of the heart, beyond even anything that we can say or name with our mind, but this recognition of this flow of love that we've suddenly tapped into the river of that. And so as I be having these experiences of I am you and you are me, and also I started to experience spiritual wisdom, but my relationship to it being like silly putty, if you remember silly putty. So silly putty, you get silly putty and you put it on the comics when there used to be paper. I mean, if young kids wouldn't have any idea what I'm talking about, but, and then you pick up the image on the silly putty. So during this beginning of the awakening process, that's what it was like for me. I would encounter a spiritual wisdom teaching and I'd be like, all right, tell me about it. And then it would happen for me. So I'm hanging out with spiritual teachers and shaman, and I'm like getting the big downloads. And, the years are going by, and my life was filled with challenges and big ripping apart of everything that I thought was reality and also who I thought that I was. But as time went by and I moved to California, and I get a job managing a yoga studio. And I was pretty over this job managing the yoga studio because I was just like interacting with regular people that were complaining about their memberships and wanting to like rent a yoga mat. It was like, I am, in this process of awakening, and I want to talk to people that want to download me about the mysteries of the universe. And, I recognized it was my spiritual snobbery face. And so I remember like going to work one day and being like, all right, Spirit, like, what do you have for me here? And Spirit said, I am in all things, in all beings. You just have to look for me there. And then I was like, oh, like, how could I have forgotten? And so, as we're sharing, I'm remembering again when we can look for the divine in one another, when we can look for the beauty in one another. And as we witness that beauty in each other, then the beauty comes to life. And I think, there's this native prayer, and it says, beauty before me, beauty behind me, beauty at my left, beauty at my right, beauty above me, beauty below me, beauty within me. And for me, that beauty is really the touching into the substance of truth, the substance of life itself. Because life is filled with so much beauty, like the love, the tenderness, the compassion, the thing that makes our eyes overflow with tears. I think it is that beauty. So as we look for the beauty in each other and in our world, we call it out. And, as a kind of remedy to any ills that we're experiencing, we're also these creator gods. So it's like what we see is what we get. So if our perceptual awareness has been hijacked by somebody else's version of the story, then we are just repeating the same cycle. And another way to put that is we're consumers. So, media capitalizes on that. So they show us commercials and they show us movie trailers and they show us what they want us to buy. And I'm sure you've heard the phrase, you are what you eat. So, literally, what we consume, we become. But we also consume messages, we consume programming, we consume information. And then what do we do once we consume? We regurgitate. We regurgitate the same story, we regurgitate the same version of reality. So, I feel like for me, what the awakening is it's paying attention. It's coming so present into this now moment and staying aware and paying attention so that we're monitoring. Am I just regurgitating right now? Am I choosing what I'm consuming, or am I just consuming as a byproduct of my habitual patterning? And so, as we can be in this present moment, recognizing the beauty in one another, then we come back into that state where we are creating what comes next. And one last thing I'll say about that is during COVID, when COVID started, I was like, uh-oh, like, what is this? What is going on? And so in my meditation, I was asking Spirit, what is this? And Spirit said, nothing has changed. You are still creator gods creating your reality. And you have to remember that your reality is sourced by your connection to spirit, by your inspiration, by being in nature where your body is harmonized with natural law. And as long as you stay true to your heart and that space of inspiration, then you create what's next. If you fall into the fear of someone else's narrative, then you are contributing your energy to creating what they decide is next. And we're at this threshold and precipice of so many different competing timelines, and we're really calling in this anchoring of this golden age timeline, this highest possibility where we actualize the star of our destiny. We have this time where we come together in collective consciousness and universal peace and harmony. And so how do we do that? By choosing what we're putting into the future, as opposed to just regurgitating what we've heard in the past.
Boom. Boom. Yeah. As you were sharing so much wisdom, there were about 5 different things. It's like, oh, I want to share that story. And oh my God, that reminds me of this and reminds me of that. There's a lot of wisdom in what you just shared right now. And I'm convinced that this is a dream world, that there's dreams within dreams within dreams within dreams going on. When I say it's a dream world, that's not to minimize how dynamic and how blessed we are to have a life, how blessed we are to be in these bodies, to experience sensations, to experience the senses. We're so blessed. And I agree, we're creator gods, and it helps me to remember, okay, this is my individual dream happening in a collective dream. And there are certain things happening in the collective dream that I don't necessarily create, but I have a relationship to, or I can choose how I'm going to relate to it. And it seems that every great teacher basically teaches, the ones that last, being present, which is what you just said, and compassion. Having compassion for ourselves, compassion for each other, compassion for others. And because there is so much polarization going on in the world right now, and there's a real effort, as you said, competing timelines, and there's a real effort to get people to polarize us versus them, New Age versus non-New Age, Biden versus Trump, Jew versus Muslim, mask versus no mask, vaccine versus no mask, all that. And if we can just not get pulled into the polarization, do our very, very best to see the divinity in all. Wow, there's God. Joe Biden, or as whomever you might be triggered by, your wife or your ex-wife or your kids or your mother-in-law. You can see the divinity in all beings. and especially in the relationships that we're in, because as a coach, my approach to coaching is not to focus on the differences, but to help people remember that they love each other. And I won't share stories now, but there's so many wonderful stories that I get to experience where people come in and they think they're going to tell me what the other did wrong because they think I'm a judge and I'm going to choose one person over the other. And instead, I don't want to even hear any of that. I just help them remember moments where they really loved each other, moments where they really cared for each other, bringing them back into connection. And when that happens, for those who want to remember love, sadly, not everybody does, but for those who want to remember love, it's like all that stuff just kind of melts away. And instead, what takes over is the remembrance of love. So seeing the divinity in all is very important. And thank you for reminding us of that.
Thank you, Scott. And as you were sharing that, so many things came to my mind. I actually had to make a note.
I saw you writing something.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I don't want to forget this one. And so you talked about a dream within a dream. And so, the thing for each of us to recognize from your perspective, you are the main character. You are the hero in the hero's journey. And, in Joseph Campbell's scenario of the hero's journey, we're kind of living life. Then we have a call to action. Then we kind of battle with ourselves. Am I going to do it? It's going to take me outside of my status quo. I might not be safe. And so if you're going to take the prompting of your hero's journey, then you go off, maybe away from your family, away from your community, go through deep peril. Then you receive a gift, and then eventually you go back and you share it with your community. So this idea of the hero's journey, which we may have heard, I've also heard it said that some of the media and sports, organized sports as an example, they satisfy that inherent calling to actualize our hero's journey. When we get behind our favorite sports team, where we sit in the audience of a concert and we're like, yeah, they're doing it. We are taking our agency and projecting it onto someone else. And so to recognize that we're in a dream, we're in our own dream inside this collective dream. And you as the dreamer, just like in a lucid dream, you have the capacity to shift the dream. And I want to ask the audience, examples, if you can think of times where maybe there was something going on and you didn't think that was right. And either through the power of prayer or intention, you shifted it. You woke up the next morning and it was completely different. And you knew somehow, just by you recognizing that there was a change. And one kind of story I can share as an example, and I was going to actually play the song a little bit later, is I had my kids' music program, and I got invited to sing with this group of homeschooling mothers, and it was during the pandemic. And I go down and I do this class with the kids and the parents, and then I got speaking with this one mother in particular who was a very strong advocate. She would go down to City Hall and she would give presentations. And it was during this time where they were beginning to implement vaccine mandates for firefighters and police officers. And these women, their husbands were firefighters and police officers. And all they wanted was for their families to have a choice. They weren't in any judgment. They just wanted their families to have a choice. So this mother had started this video campaign to support the husbands of these families. And this was also on this threshold time where they were going to begin to do these vaccine mandates in the schools. And obviously it's a super heated topic. And, coming back to what you said, Scott, about this unity consciousness, is that we know we have to stay in unity consciousness, right? Yes. We know we have to come to this place of oneness. But what happens as soon as you mention vaccines, COVID, transgender, you mention these topics, and then people forget that we're supposed to stay in unity, and people are very justified in their position. People experience death and loss of freedom, and so these topics, they come across as so charged and so real, and it's in these moments that we're most challenged to hold that space of unity. So as I'm with this group of homeschooling mothers, and the kids are, they're taught, there's a lot of talk, or there's going to be these vaccine mandates put in the schools. And so I'm thinking, like, I have to do something. I'm going to write a song about it, but I'm going to write a song that unites us. I'm going to write a song that unites us with the earth, with one another, that we can sing as an anthem. And I had 40 parents and children play on the song, singing and playing the instruments. And it took, like, my plan was we were going to record this song and we were going to put it out like in a couple weeks, and it was going to be out just in time to shift this so that the kids would be safe. Well, I tell you, with all this combined energy of 40 parents and all the love we had and all the blessings of spirit, the song really still hasn't even come out. But they didn't do the vaccine mandate. And it felt like it was because we recognized that a shift needed to be made. So we were in that lucid dream space of our dream within the collective dream. And, speaking to this, and this might be a little bit controversial, but we're also in this place of really overcoming this massive victim mentality, because we're in the belief system that everything is being done to us. And we're forgetting the fact that we're giving our compliance or we're not giving our compliance. And granted, this is a huge topic, and we live in a world of influences, and the strongest influence does influence those less powerful vibrations. But we have ways, we know, in the yogic world, with breath work, with meditation, that we can rarefy our own vibrations and become vibrationally stronger, so that the vibrational field that we create with our collective community, the global peace tribe, never underestimating the power of coming together in the collective field, holding a joint intention for all things good. So I know I said, usually I'm not so controversial. That was like me being controversial. But I would love to hear stories of people who have had instances where somebody said it just wasn't going to work. Like maybe, your child was given a diagnosis and you're like, no, that is not true. I cancel that reality and I name what is true. So, it's sometimes like that mother with the car on her child, suddenly she gets the strength to lift a car. Sometimes we have to get pushed to our knees to really cry out to the universe, the request. And this is also like the magic of the universe. Manifestation isn't just what we think, but it's the feeling state that we embody while we're thinking it. So when we get to those places where life brings us to our knees, if instead of saying, oh my God, this is never going to work out, or life, I'm not loved, or this is the same old story, or I'm so heartbroken, instead of repeating the same tapes, if we can find the request that is hidden in the despair, and while we're on our knees, instead of claiming despair, we can proclaim our victory. We can proclaim that space of whatever that request is, that, there is a big plan for me. My day is coming. I am being blessed in this situation. I know that things will work out.
Yes. So two things. I'm going to tell a story about that. We're going to go to Omashar for a song in a moment. And I definitely would love for people to put into the chat box if you have stories of magic, of miracles that have happened in your life. And I'm going to share a story that, of course, I've observed many miracles, but this one of the things I love to do is every now and then I get to officiate weddings. And it's such a joy to, and of course, the people that I officiate are like my kids. I'll remove you. I'll give you a chance to take a breath there. So there was a wedding that I was arranged to officiate, and it was taking place in sunny Southern California. We expected, we were doing it in their home, and they have a big backyard, so it was going to be the backyard. And wouldn't you know, one of those rare times, rain came. And it was like too much rain to have it outside. But they had invited 100 people, and then this inside of their house, it was tiny. It was just like there was no large room. Somehow we had 100 people show up, and somehow everyone got into that room. Everyone had a place to be. I mean, it was standing, and the wedding happened, and it was amazing. And I can remember after most everybody had left, we were looking around, and it was just like, this is physically impossible that this space could have held 100 people. But I truly believe that there was such a consciousness of the wedding and all the love of the wedding, and that everybody wanted to be a part of it, that somehow we just dreamt it, Creator God dreaming it. We dreamt that there was enough space inside this little tiny house for everybody to be present and to be part of the wedding. So that's the story that comes to mind for me. Is there a story you'd like to share before we go to Omashar?
I mean, my life has been based on that.
I bet.
It's almost like if I didn't have it, I wouldn't even be here. Um, and let's see, I mean, moments where the bottom drops out. I mean, yeah, one thing comes to my mind. It was years ago, and I was in a very challenging place in my life, and a very challenging place financially in particular. And I hadn't been able to pay my car payment in a few months. And, I was always like trying to call them and negotiate something. And this one day they're like, this is it. This is your last day. You have to pay the car payment today by 5 o'clock, or we're repossessing your car. And I called my dad, and he's like, oh, sorry, I don't have any money. I called my mom. She's like, maybe now you'll finally learn your lesson, that you have to get a real job and you have to stop doing all this nonsense that you're doing. And I asked my boyfriend, and it was like $500 I had to pay, and nobody would give it to me. And I was like on the verge of collapse. And it just had been one thing after another, and just feeling like in such dire straits, and feeling like, this is ridiculous. What am I even doing with myself? I'm sure we've all had these moments of the world seems to be falling apart, and we really question, oh no, I did the wrong thing. I took the wrong path. This isn't what I should be doing. This is ridiculous. Everybody was right. So this one day, I'm falling into deep self-doubt, and Spirit said, just keep going. Don't fall apart. Like, the solution is in the motion. And so that day I had a client that I was going to see to give an energy healing session. And so I was like, okay, Spirit said, don't freak out, just keep going through the motions. So I get over to her house, and she's asking me, and she was also a friend, and she was asking me how it was going. And I said, no, it's pretty good. I feel surprisingly okay. For the fact that I have to pay this car payment by today at 5 o'clock, or they're going to repossess my car. It was 4:50 p.m. And she goes, oh my God, you can't have that happen. She goes, I'm going to pay it for you. So she called and she paid my car payment. And she bought like a series of sessions. So it wasn't like, she just paid in advance. And I was like, and then when I think about how my life unfolded after that, like, that car has just been a lifesaver for me. And I'm so grateful that Spirit intervened in that moment. This is one of the extreme examples. And I was just like, could barely catch my breath of witnessing that kind of, like, in the 11th hour. And this has been so much of the recognition that, like, we have to hold the faith, and we have to believe, especially when we've been given a message by Spirit, especially when we feel a deep connection in our heart, to just continue knowing. It's almost like we're meeting that moment of death with a smile on our face, in gratitude for the life we've lived, trusting that we've been held all this time, and we are not bad, and we're not wrong, and we haven't done anything to cause ourselves to fall out of favor. All of these are parts of illusion to disempower us. And it's said that the way to imprison a spiritual being is by invalidating them, by telling them they're wrong. So we have all of these mental programs, and that's reinforced in society with these messages that we're getting, that we were bad, we're wrong, we shouldn't have listened to that, we shouldn't have become that musician, we should have been a banker. And life is proving to us how bad and wrong we are. And those are all just like an illusory field of sabotage that keeps us from claiming this present moment. And I had a session one time, and I was going deep into this like kind of recurring self-doubt pattern that was coming up. And we were looking at it from different angles with this coach I was working with, and even like looking at some past life connection. And then I had this like aha moment. And the aha moment was, if I wasn't so busy feeling bad about myself, what would I be doing?
Wow.
And then it was like, I would be standing up for the children. I would be standing up for this next generation to show them how important they are, to tell them how much they matter, that they're loved, to be an advocate for healthy food, for clean water, for environments where they were safe and loved and clean, and weren't inundated with negative messaging. Like, if I wasn't so busy feeling bad about myself or afraid for my survival, I would be standing up and speaking what I believe is right.
You're doing it now. You're doing it now beautifully. We're going to go to Omashar, but there are some wonderful comments coming in. Susan Bloomquist writes, I believe you were right about trusting the universe. Many times I've had grace in the oddest ways. Andrew Kane is with us. He says, love you, Rhea. So happy to
You
see
know
you.
each other from New York.
Oh,
From
so
years
happy to see you on the Global Peace Tribe here. Eleanor Joy writes, I was in the States in my motorhome on top of a hill. A huge rainstorm with lightning was coming straight for me. I prayed and intended that it'd move off in another direction, and I trusted and believed that it would, and it did. Divine grace. Karen, your friend Karen writes, some years ago, I was on a conference call where we put out the intention that a hurricane that was heading towards the coast of Texas or Louisiana would either dissipate or do minimal damage. And sure enough, it fizzled out so that very little damage was done. Connie is with us, Connie Baxter Marlowe. She writes, yes, trusting the loving universe and knowing we are on our soul's journey. Sorry, somebody else came in, so I lost it. Trusting we're on our soul's journey by realizing the gift that we promised to bring to the party, us. Sylvia writes, when I moved out of the family house in 2010, I prayed for the right buyers. Jay and Kay bought it. Jay was a high school classmate, now teaches environmental science there, and Kay helps in the community garden on the school grounds and has a greenhouse on my family property. I didn't have money to hire movers, so I prayed, and more than a dozen people showed up to help, including Kay's dad and Jay with trucks. You know, I had a moving story that reminds me of when my wife was still alive, we were moving, and the people who were going to help us at the last minute couldn't make it. And you know, because you just moved. And we're like, oh my God, just the two of us, a big moving. We're moving, you know, a house of three things. These two Mormon guys, big Mormon guys, knocking on the door, preaching, you know, Mormonism. And they saw that we were moving. They ended up spending the entire afternoon helping us move. And I mean, they were big guys. They did the work for us. And we bought them some dinner, and then they disappeared. And it was as though they were really like angels in disguise as Mormons knocking on doors. So that's that. I just remember that story.
Thank you, Scott. And thank you for everyone who shared stories. I feel like that is the power. It's inspiration is something to be shared, and it's contagious. And when we can remember that we have our own versions of these stories, then we come to life. And a couple things that came to my mind while you were sharing that. One is a movie I saw recently called Ordinary Angels. And I just wept through that whole movie. So I really recommend that if you're looking for an inspirational story and how we have the power to transform a situation. Ordinary Angels. Also, a documentary I watched about Mully, M-U-L-L-Y, Mully Children's Family. It's about a man in Kenya who was an orphan. His parents abandoned him when he was 6 years old, and he grew up on his own. By the time he was a teenager, he went into the nearest town, just knocking on doors for work. He got work at a wealthy person's estate, just helping around the kitchen at first, then in the field, then he became manager of the field. He saved his money and he recognized that there was a need for a certain bus service between two different towns. So he saved up his money, he bought a bus, started this bus service. Then he realized he needed tires for the bus, so he bought a tire place. Then he bought a gas station, and then his wealth just expanded and his success expanded. He married a beautiful woman. They had like 7 kids or something. And then one day he's in Kenya and he parked his car and some kids came up to him and asking for help, like with their hand out. And he's like, go away, get out of here. So he goes to his event, he comes back, and the car had been broken into. And so that day while he's driving home, God is like, your job is to help the kids on the street. Like, you have to help the kids. You have to take all of your vast wealth and put it into helping these kids. So he tells his wife, and his wife is like, okay. So every night he'd go into the ghetto and he would find these homeless children, these little children, and bring them back to his wife. And she would have to take care of them and educate them. And then they ended up buying this property. And I mean, he spent every resource he had. And he has helped thousands and thousands of children, put them through school, taught them vocational skills, sent them to college. Like, he has dedicated his life. And I think, what you were saying, Scott, about the angels in disguise is that it's almost like the opposite of the Matrix movie. The Matrix, that part where there's the woman in the red dress, but she can become an agent. Like, anybody who's plugged into the Matrix can become an agent at any moment. Well, anybody who's plugged into the divine can become the hand of God at every moment, like through our willingness. Like, we could be that support for someone else when we follow that inclination in our own heart to reach out, to help a neighbor, to uplift someone, to support.
Yes. So may we all listen, be present. How can I be of service today? What do I need to do today? Okay, I'm going to give you a little bit of a break. I'm going to read a couple more comments and then we're going to go to Omashar. Beloved brother Jerry, I don't know if you know him, Rhea. He's our wild monk of the Mystic Monastery. And he writes, my recent miracle in Ecuador, I called an Uber to take me to a meeting. After 30 minutes, Uber said they had no one accept my ride. So I was standing on a remote dirt road when a stranger pulled up and in English asked me if I spoke English. I said, yes. He said, wait right here 5 minutes. I will come back. And he did. So now he asked where I was going. I said, and he said that he would take me there. When my friend I was meeting called and I told him what had happened, he immediately thought I was being kidnapped. So he asked to talk to the driver. I passed the phone to find out that my stranger was a friend of my friend. He would let me pay him, as he said it was like a confessional. I was not sure what he meant when I realized the entire 30-minute ride, he told me about what he had learned from wanting to commit suicide. Wow, that's a great story. Thank you, beloved brother Jerry, for being who you are in the world. Karen S. writes, in May of last year, I was given notice by my landlord that I needed to move so that she could renovate her house. I had no idea where I was going to live. I was afraid that I would become homeless because I didn't have anywhere to go that would be affordable for me. A few days later, I went to an event and met someone who knows the manager of the building where I now live. I've been here almost a year and I love it. Beautiful. Andrew says, I've been waiting almost around 20 years for a title for my channeled vibrational healing poetry book, and I just received from a dream. That's wonderful, Andrew. Congratulations. And Connie and Andrew point out their beautiful course, The Dance of Souls, and all about the trust frequency, which we've talked about on the show before, which is really beautiful. All right, we are going to go to beloved brother Omashar, but before you share a song, what is your inspirational story that you would be willing to share with us tonight?
Inspirational stories. Okay. Goodness me. How many? Let me choose. All I can say is rare. Holy smoke. The spirit is just pouring through you tonight. And everything that you have said has just pinged into my heart and my soul and my psyche. And it's like, oh, yes, yes, yes. And I'm like, I have nothing else because it took the words right out of my heart. And whilst this has been happening, I used to live in New Zealand, and I had a yen one day to just let go of everything and take a little backpack, stick my thumb out, and go on a road trip. And so I thought I'd go on a road trip to this place called Lake Taupo, which is a major vortex upon the planet, like Lake Titicaca. And I found this little place next to it called the Tahara Center, Tauraha, which is a spiritual center. I just lucked into it. And within a couple of days, I found I didn't have any money. I had like $50 in my pocket. And they said, okay, you can just work here 4 hours a day, and you can we'll give you food and shelter, your own private room and bathroom. And I thought, that's great. And then halfway through the situation that I was in at the Tahara Center, I thought I need to go out a bit further. And so I just jumped on the road and stuck my thumb out, and I suddenly found myself in the middle of nowhere, what I thought was nowhere, at this a place where the Tohungas, which is the wise ones in Maori, the New Zealand indigenous people, taught the Tohungas to be Tohungas, where the wise ones taught the wise ones to be wise ones. And it was this gated like area with, stay out. And so I climbed over the fence and went into this area, and this ancient cross was there, and at the bottom of the cross is all this New Zealand jade. And I just felt spirit just in filling me with, you're in the right place at the right time. You're not transgressing, you're not trespassing. We have pulled you here. And so I went into this house that was there, this ramshackle house with buckets collecting the rain through the broken roof, but there was enough space in there. And there was on the mantelpiece, there was a fire set up, there was a box of matches, there was a can of condensed milk, some sugar, and some English tea. And so suddenly I was in this place receiving spirit, but being looked after just because I'd followed my intuition off my back. It was just phenomenal. And there's too much in here, but this is the to share. But this is my beginning of realizing that spirit is talking through everything and everyone. And so I spent a couple of nights there, just with spirit being so infilled. And I had a little bit of jade, which I brought with me. I still wear New Zealand jade now to this day. It reminds me of that time. And I thought, here I am out in the middle of nowhere, like 40, 50 miles away from nowhere, no major town. How am I going to manifest a ride? And so I just sat on the side of the road with no cars going by. And then after about half an hour, I heard this massive truck driving from, I don't know, gosh knows where. It was, going 80, 90 miles an hour. And I thought, well, this is interesting. And so I just stuck my thumb out. And the next thing I knew, this massive truck jammed its brakes on, and just a streak of black rubber down the road. And he said, what are you out here in the middle of nowhere for, mate? G'day. No one ever travels down this road. I said, well, I'm here and you're here, and thank you very much. And he took me to the nearest center, where I found my way back to the Tahara Center. And the last thing before I wrap this story up is I was in a room in the Tahara Center reading a magazine. and on the magazine, it was from a group called Starborn from Virginia in the United States. And it said, oh, one of my daughters from the company is visiting New Zealand at the moment. She's visiting the Tahara Center. And anyway, long story short, ended up dating the daughter, who eventually took me to Virginia. And from there, for the next decade or two, I'm just being very quiet about how long it's been. I've been to 33 countries just because I was at the right time, at the right place, without any advertising, without anything. Anyway, that's my story. Now I'm going to shut up.
No, thank you very much for sharing your story.
You know, you just taking the next step. It's the movement, and I had nothing in my mind, and because of all of these steps and me just moving when I should, everything lined up right to the point of being able to write my spiritual music, my if you want to call it that, and go around the world without any advertising and play it to, I don't know, thousands and thousands of people. And so anyway, this is one of my stories, and this dude behind me is probably one of the reasons I wrote this song, which is Just Win right there.
Dearly beloved. All right, I think we're ready. We are ready. All right. Just when you think that all is lost, and the curtain looks to fall, perhaps it's just a song of hope that calls, and you trust in life exposed. No need to sit around and mope. Where there is love, there's always hope. Trust in your life and you will see that you reflect as me. Another day is here for you to live, and I'll walk it through with you. There is no doubt your heart is pure and true, so I came to remind you. No need to sit around and mope. Where there is love, there's always hope. Trust in your life and you will see that you reflect as me. I am in all that you will see. Have trust in your life and trust in me. Dust yourself down and I'll lift you up. I will fill your loving cup. Just when you thought that all was lost, I came to remind you. No need to sit around and mope. Where there is love, there's always hope. Trust in your life and you will see that you reflect as me.
Going to gallery view. Let's twinkle our beloved brother Omar Shar. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Omar Shar. And you know, I haven't done the Omar Shar pitch yet. And it is important for us to recognize he is so grateful. He is so generous, and I'm so grateful for his generosity. And so we can support him by going to omashar.bandcamp.com. And that's where you can get his music, his albums. And
in fact, that circle you see at the top there is one of the events that we held as a result of me going to New Zealand to the Stahara Centre and meeting up with the people. And so that was in Bali, that event. And so, yeah.
That picture?
Yes, at the top of that page there.
Top of the
The one
page.
where you see the circle of us all holding hands. Yeah, that
Beautiful.
was, yeah, beautiful.
Michelle, beautiful. Thank you so, so much.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
How about a little more Ray Amana?
I think so.
Oh,
There's something about the way your name goes. So I just find myself Ray Amana. Like it's a beautiful Ray Amana.
Thank you
So
for that. I have a friend, and every time I would see him, he'd sing Rayamana, Rayamana, Rayamana. And Raya means
that kind of goes down for me too. I'm sorry, what does Ray mean?
well, Raya means singer, and mana is spelled like the manna from heaven. So it means singer of heavenly substance. And what we all have the capacity to do is just like tune in with source and speak it into our reality. And this it's just such a joy to feel people's activation and feel people participating. What was coming to me as you were sharing, Scott, and as Omshar was sharing, is that the awakening world doesn't want you to be passive. It requires your participation. And however that shows up, like we just stay in motion. Like as I was packing to move the last couple of days, I was thinking, I don't know what to do. Like it was so overwhelming. And so I would think I don't know what to do. And then Spirit would be like, well, just do whatever you do know. Like we don't have to have the whole answer. Like, so what do I know right now? I know I have to put my earrings in because I have to wear feather earrings while I'm packing. So we don't have to know the whole answer. We just can tune in to what is next. And with my singing school, the Songkeeper School, something that's really important to me is to leave people with the legacy being how they're feeling from the experience. Like hearing people's shares and hearing people remember these stories. Like, I hope that you walk away from tonight remembering more of those instances of miracles. So then the person who was kind of that conduit or way shower kind of falls into the background, and that the thing that you're left with is your own memories of your own spaces of inspiration or your own activation or what it is that you want to create. So for me, that's the space of leadership or of ceremony or gatherings. Like I want everybody to feel that space of recognizing their own calling and how that's showing up in this now moment, and to move into the space being about you. And I feel like that's the greatest transmission we can give someone else. And I feel like, Scott, that's what you do week after week. And I'm sure with your clients, you give them the space to hear other people's voices. And you are this beautiful moderator and space holder that of course is making all this difference, but you're not making it about you. You're making it about the awakening world. You're making it about others. You're making it about service. And this is the magic ingredient. It's that when we recognize that our life is about more, that our life is about something greater than just ourselves, and we can begin to expand our identity to include a larger piece of the puzzle and put ourselves in service to that, then we start to see miracles move through. And so I wanted to lead us through a little process, and I just have one more story before I share the process. I know we're getting out of our time, but it was just such an epic thing that happened. And so I have this children's music program that I've had for 10 years. And lately I've been working on creating video content for the kids program. This whole program I've done for free for the last 10 years. It's just like my way of giving back. So it's teaching mindfulness and positive messages, how to connect with the earth, coping skills for kids. And I have a puppet, and it's a star. His name is Starry, and he comes from our star family. And so I spent my last 2 weeks in Topanga in my backyard, which is against the state park, talking to my star puppet and like singing these songs for children, like ridiculous. And some days it was really hard. And I made 34 videos. Some days it was really, really hard. And one day in particular, I was like, God, this is so dumb. I look so dumb right now. And this, like, who would even want to watch this stuff? And I said, please, can you give me some motivation if I'm supposed to be doing this, if this is a good idea, because I need help. So I make another video, and it was my 21st video. And I get up to like do a little costume change, and all of a sudden, and literally I live against a state park, there is nothing there except trees and grass and a mountain. A film crew comes up into my backyard. There's a film crew, like 10 people with boom mics and cameras, like, come to my backyard, come to me. And they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm making music for my children's program. And I have a star. They're like, will you tell us about it? So I talked to them with my star puppet, and then they said, would you sing us a song? So I sing them a song, and then they go on their way. And I'm like, oh my God, like, what just happened? I have no idea where did they even come from? So then a little while later, my neighbor comes over, and my neighbor says that they were interviewing him for something and just happened to come upon me. He knew that I was doing some good work, and so he brought them over. But like, what a moment. And then he goes on to tell me that he started this YouTube channel because he realized that the purpose of his life is to be a channel of the divine and to share inspiration with others so they can remember inspiration in those moments of need, and he can be a source of upliftment. And he starts crying while he's telling me the story. I've never even talked to this guy before. And he tells me all this. And so then I'm like, that's my purpose too. I'm a channel of the divine. That's it. That's right. So I share that story because, I mean, for me, it was so miraculous. Like, you never know what can happen. I mean, a film crew with a YouTube influencer stumbled upon me while I was in my backyard with my puppet. So, you know, anything's possible. Just keep saying yes to those moments when Spirit invites you into something greater, and say yes when Spirit invites you to be a vehicle of goodness or hope or blessing for someone else.
Absolutely.
Um,
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, while it's on, since you talk about it, there's a few things I wanted to share. And I've gotten so enraptured in the conversation that I haven't been doing my proper hosting duties. Now, don't worry, the show's not ending. We've got much more still to offer, but I want to take a moment and show people how they can get more Rhea Mana, because a couple of people have already mentioned that they're interested in your song school. So the best way to reach her and learn all about her world is to go to her website, and it's very easy because it's her name, Rhea, YAMANNA, REYAMANNA.com. And there's a lot happening here, as you can imagine, because she's an extraordinary woman doing a lot of amazing things. And so you can learn all about her Songkeeper School. And a few people have already said that they are interested in your next version of that. So there's a lot of information about that. She also you're available for private counseling and private coaching, or to be hired for concerts and gigs and things. So just go to contact, and that's real easy. You can just put in your information right there. And you've got an amazing event that's about to happen in Mount Shasta. So tell us about the Mount Shasta event.
Yes, thank you. Mount Shasta, what a magical, powerful place, and the root chakra of the earth. And with the Songkeeper School, I teach sacred singing, earth honoring, and ritual. So in the program, it's an online program, and we get together for 6 months, and we learn songs to connect with the elementals, to work on ancestral healing, to work with our inner child. And we learn about temples and sacred sites and portals and vortexes, and how to work with the spirit of place through sound, and also using sound as alchemy. So we're teaching all this about the power of being in sacred sites. And so then we're going to a sacred site. We did this last year. We went to Mount Shasta and we sang to the headwaters. We spent a lot of time singing in Panther Meadows. We went to other very activated places in that magical vortex, and people had just beautiful experiences of healing because we're using song to build that relationship with the elementals. So as soon as we started last time, it felt like we had all ears on us. It was like all those elemental beings, from the wind to the water, like each person as they shared their intention. I mean, tears came to my eyes because I felt the unseen world like, what do you want? We got you. And to go through working with the different elementals of the earth, of the water, of the fire, of the air, of the plants, and feeling the healing that happened, the awarenesses that came. So we're going to go in August and we're going to sing to the land and be in this space of healing and majesty. And we're going there to work. We're going there to recognize that we are creating a unified field to empower the sacredness of this place, the spirit of the mountain. And last year, a thunderstorm came up on us while we were swimming in the lake. And I got really tuned in with this notion of empowering the elementals of the spirit of place, that sacred sites are the wisdom keepers of the earth. And so as we empower them with what they need, I mean, how often do we go to a mountain and say, hey, what do you need? Okay, I'm going to sing love and blessings to you. So whatever it is for your own growth or your own healing, you can have it. And so we sang for the balancing of the elements, and then it started to rain like 2 days later. And it rained so much, it even rained out Burning Man. And there's more to say about that, because there's this different ley lines and earth rings of the planet where different sites can impact the weather system of other sites. And there's a Sacramento earth ring that's based with the center in Sacramento, and then the outer circumference goes through Mount Shasta, Black Rock City, which is where Burning Man is, also Mount Whitney. So there's an impact that we have in one place, and as it can affect other places. So we're going there to work, to bless up the land, and the fastest way to receive anything that you're wanting or needing is to help others and serve others. So we're going to be of assistance to the planet, and then who knows what that space is that is opened up for miracles in your own life.
All right, so again, that's taking place in August. It's 5 days, 4 nights up in Mount Shasta. And the dates are Sunday, August 18th through Thursday, August 22nd. And boy, I tell you, that just looks like a wonderful, wonderful experience. So I hope that some of our Global Peace Drivers can join you for that.
Thank you so much.
We've spoken about doing several things, and I hope
I
you
know
don't
we're
mind
running out of time.
if you get the energy. You talked about taking people through a process for when we are facing challenging times. Can we still go there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll do a little guided visualization if that works for everyone. And so maybe let's just rub our hands together. This helps shift our energy. Our hands are an extension of our heart, and our heart is the seat of love and compassion in the world, and our hands are the extension of that love into action. So when we rub our hands, we're activating our heart center. We're also activating our role as light workers and our contribution to the upliftment of the greater good. Okay, so shake out our hands and just bring your hands down into your lap, and we'll close our eyes. And just connecting with our breath, connecting with this moment, noticing how you're feeling. And thinking back to how you felt right before you got on this call today. And noticing how you're feeling now, how your energy's shifted or changed. And into your awareness, bring to your mind, maybe recall that intention that you set in the beginning, or whatever it was that was heavy on your heart. If there's been a situation that you've been struggling for clarity with, or just something that you've been going through that's been challenging, just call that into your awareness. And then I want you to see that situation like a leaf on a tree. So bring to your mind's eye the image of a leaf, And just allow that leaf to be the embodiment of that issue, challenge, situation, dynamic. And then feel the leaf connected to the branch. Feel the branch connected to the trunk. And feel yourself as this tree. Feel your trunk, your being mighty and strong. Feel the trunk extending down into roots, and the roots extending down deep into the earth, deep into the soil, drawing up nutrients, knowing that your roots are as deep as your branches are high, and feeling yourself centered in this space, feeling these leaves on your branches, and feeling the warmth of the summer air. Feeling the sunshine, feeling the gentle breeze blowing these leaves. And then feeling the days of the summer growing lazy and hot. And feeling the season moving into fall. Seeing your leaves changing colors, seeing the situations of your life transforming as the light grows dim. And then bring your awareness to the leaves falling off the tree. One by one, dropping to the ground, feeling your branches bare, and still feeling your branches connected with this trunk that is you, with your roots deep in the earth. And then feel the days growing shorter yet, and feeling the cold of the winter. Feeling the snow coming, covering your branches, and feeling your branches grow. It's during the winter that the branches extend, that they grow. So feeling yourself move through this very dark time of year, connecting with your trunk, connecting with your roots. And then feel the shift begin to come, and feel the light begin to return again to the sky. Little hints of warmth coming through the air. And then feel the approach of spring, the hearing of the birds, and feel the buds begin to emerge on your own branches. The buds of new life, of new possibility, of new hope. And feel these buds begin to bloom into new leaves, new flowers, new vibrant life. And recognizing in this life cycle that you are that tree steadfast, with roots deep in the earth and branches to the heavens, and the situations that we find ourselves in will come and go. And if we can recognize that we're in this long game held to the earth by the hug of gravity, embraced by life, embraced by love, and that ultimately we come into this world born out of love, and we go from this world only remembering the love when all is said and done. And so coming back to your breath, coming back to your own steadfast central column, to recognize yourself as part of the all that is. That the glory of creation would be incomplete without you. And that all of life thought that you were a good idea and invested in you to see what you could make happen. And so we'll inhale deeply into the chest, hold the breath, squeeze the body. Exhale, shake out the hands, open the eyes.
Now, earlier you were talking about the awareness of when your human father left and it created this vacuum, and how blessed you are to have filled that vacuum with the big father. And I always, something that comforts me and that I try and share with my clients is that at all times, even if we're feeling lonely, when we're feeling isolated and lonely, we're always being held by Mother Earth, gravity. She's always holding us. And once I kind of realized that a long time ago, many decades ago, I've never felt lonely since then, no matter what's going on in my world, because I do know that I believe in Mother Earth. I believe that Gaia is consciousness. She's our big mama, our Pachamama. We've done a lot of shows dedicated to Pachamama. And just remembering that she's holding us at all times. We're being held by this big, beautiful blue-green planet. So I remembered that just now. And this is a wonderful image that Dorina, one of our regulars from Ecuador, just posted. And I think that's an important image, on this show that we're talking about inspiration. I invite everybody to save that. Save it. She's put it in the chat box so you can save it. And look at that. Because the media, most movies about the future are this kind of dystopian nuclear wasteland with cockroaches the size of my dog, and just like really funky images. And I truly believe that we are going through the birthing pain into an awakening world. There's a wonderful book written by Ray Amana called The Awakening World, so we know it's got to happen. And the best is yet to come for each and every one of us. Even if we die, then the best is yet to come, because when we leave this body, which is sad, I'll miss my body, but we wake up in this really wonderful, beautiful place. So the best is always yet to come. You wrote a book called The Awakening World, and I cannot let this show end without you at least sharing a little bit with us, whatever you want to share about your book, which is, of course, the namesake for our show.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you so much. And well, I mentioned earlier the sun gazing to the earth, or the sun gazing and then the flowing energy and blessings to the earth. And so once the earth started talking to me, I began writing those messages down and compiling them over 5 years and creating the book, The Awakening World. And I began my relationship with divinity through the Father. And it was only about 12 years ago that I even recognized that there was a relationship to be had with the Mother. And I remember one morning waking from a dream, and in the dream, I had never known, my mother died in the dream. And I woke up just sobbing because I realized I had never known my mother's love. And then the next day, I ended up just in this communion with writing this song called Mothers and Daughters. And it was just this recognition of this love that my mother had for me when I was young, the love I had for her when I was young. And then even this one part of restoring the mother to the table that man has made, and feeling like this deep loss that we've experienced as a society with the lack of representation of the divine feminine, of the really the not space of honoring and valuing mothers, or the contribution of childbearing, or even the value of our Mother Earth, other than just something that we can take resources from. And in one of my first South American, in my first South American medicine ceremony, I was like, okay, spirit, bring it on. Like, show me, what am I here for? And when it finally hit, it was like this rolling wave of horror that came through of, you know, the abuse and the separation and all kinds of things. But then I was shown very clearly that I was here for the empowerment of the divine feminine in all her forms: women, water, earth. And at the time I thought, feminine, like, I didn't even realize the shame that I had around being a woman. I mean, that was this, it's just been this big unpacking of all this ancestral and generational trauma and the lack of valuing of the feminine. And so there's a big reclaiming that I feel like is available to us as we reclaim our love for our mother, reclaim our love for our Mother Earth. It helps us to reclaim that love we have for ourselves, for our physical body, for the world that we live in. Not this world as something we need to escape from for spiritual transcendence, or go to Mars, or whatever the programs that we're running, that we can embrace this moment in the here and the now. And it's actually through this here and now moment that we have the strength and the capacity to make the world into what it is divinely, in the image and likeness of the divine.
Yes, thank you. And of course, we've all known lots of people that were just like, oh my God, I want this to be my last life and I want to leave my body. And it's like, my God, it's about being in our bodies. The body is such a gift, and to really, early on, one of the first things you talked about is the power of gratitude. And that's my religion, the attitude of gratitude. And may we all just practice being grateful for this incredibly beautiful planet, grateful for our bodies. And as we get older, there are parts of our bodies that may not work the way that they used to, but let's still be grateful for everything. I'm reminded of I'll share an inspiring story. There was a couple that I was coaching, and a beautiful couple, older couple, and Ellis Miracles Gold. Yeah, that was his name, and his nickname was Miracles. And Ellis came down with cancer, and I did a lot of coaching with him, and it was terminal. And his wife called me, and we were staying in very close touch, and she called me every day. But one morning she said, Scott, I think today's the day, you better come on over. So I came over to say goodbye to Ellis. And at that point, he could barely eat anything, but it was a season of peaches. And so he was able to eat a peach. And so she had carved the peach into little slices for him, and he ate half of it. And he said, it's so delicious. And I know this is one of the last delicious things I'll ever eat. And I want to save the other half for when Scott gets here. And so when I got there, and Ellis shared his peach with me, it just, his joy of that peach, and that he shared it with me. I mean, here I am, that was, I don't know, 7-8 years ago. And it's still, little things, the joy of eating a peach, right? We're very blessed.
We're very blessed.
And we are so blessed to have had this beautiful evening with you, Rayamana. Again, all things Rayamana can be found at her website. There it is. And her singing school, she's just completing a program now, but you've got another one that's going to start in the fall.
Beautiful. Yes. And we're still in session. So if someone is interested in the program, it's just reach out to me, and we can talk about the best ways to get you started. I also have a children's music teacher training / inner child immersion happening at the end of June to go on a deep dive with our inner child through music and imagination and movement. And yeah, I would just love to connect. It's recognize my life path has been learning how to use song and sound and energy movement to inspire, to light people up, to light that inner fire. And I just want to see everybody just lit with that inner fire. And so it's like the greatest thing that we can pass on. So, I would love to connect, and just, Scott, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, what a pleasure. And I think everybody can tell by now that you do everything with so much love. And I think a lot of our people will really enjoy your offering. So, we call Omashar the Alpha and the Omega because our shows tend to begin and end with him. And so, Rhea, Mana, thank you. And we're going to go to Omashar for a closing song.
Thank you.
You'll never walk this way again. Lay down all your guards. Your loving hearts will lead the way. The door is open. The wonderful and the new is waiting patiently. Take a step and you will see all you've been dreaming. 'Cause now is the time you've been waiting for so long. I've been holding you through all ages, knowing I'd be with you once again. You'll never be alone again. Please take my hand in yours. I love you just the way you are. You're my creation. The wonderful and the new is waiting patiently. Take a step and you will see all you've been dreaming. And now is the time you've been waiting for so long. I've been holding you through all ages, knowing I'd be with you once again. Cause now is the time you've been waiting for so long. I've been holding you through all ages, knowing I'd be with you once again. Never walk this way again. Lay down all your guards. Your loving hearts will lead the way. The door is open.
Hey, everybody, let's twinkle our beloved brother Omashar for that beautiful, beautiful song.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Rhea. Thank you, all of the Global Peace Tribe. We rock.
Isn't it wonderful watching everybody, including Eleanor Joy, dancing?
I know, right? Wow. Keep breathing, Eleanor.
Yeah, I brought up Rhea Mino so we could see her one more time. And
Yeah.
where are you? So I'm kind of looking around for everybody. There's Sylvia, there's Andrew, there's all sorts of wonderful people. Where's Omashar? Where are you?
He's here. I'll bring myself back on. How about
What a
that?
show. Thank you, Rayamana, for being such a beautiful source of inspiration for us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Scott. Thank you, Omashar. Thank you for having me. And thank you for everyone that stayed and for your time and for your attention and your love. Just sending that back to you. And may you experience even more miracles in your life and blessings and joy. And
It is. And Ray, for all of those of us who are watching on YouTube and Facebook, there are a lot. And I am so inspired by your presence tonight. Thank you so much.
thank you
Yeah,
so
thank you
much.
for pointing that out, Omashar. A big hello to all of you watching on all the Facebook groups and pages. Thank you, John and Summer Raymer, for getting us out through the Sign Network. And hello to all the people watching the recording. I sent out an email and I asked people to let me know if you watch the replays. And a lot of people wrote back and said, oh yeah, I'm not able to watch it live. I always watch the replays. So for those of you watching the recording, we love you as well.
Mm.
I always like to let people know what's coming up on Saturday night. We kind of continue, it's kind of a similar theme, supporting the enlightenment journey. And we've got several Soul Search TV luminaries joining us. Tangela will be my co-host again. And then I also invited some of my friends that I love very much. Couture de Coster, one of my closest friends in the world, who leads tours all over the planet, including to Bhutan, Nepal, Egypt. She'll be with us. And Heather and Donnie are coming back. Remember, they did a beautiful musical experience for us recently that people really loved. And they're going to do another musical journey for us. And of course, Omashar will be with us. So that's what we've got going on Saturday night. And thank you again, Ray Amana. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to go to gallery review one last time. And let's do our very best to keep each other inspired. That's our job. Let's keep, let's really look out who could use some inspiration in your life and provide them with whatever it is, even if it's just a smile. Take care, everybody. God's blessings, and we'll see you on Saturday night.
Bye-bye.